Hey guys, Pat here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm standing in front of my 1976 Case 450 crawler, and there's a couple of things that I need to fix on this. And one is the lift cylinder. That's my #1 priority. And I noticed the 6-way blade had a lot of slop in it, so I pulled a cover. There's a cover that wraps around here, and it was bent up anyway, so I'm going to straighten that out. But getting underneath here, I noticed these 2 pins. Well, they're almost coming out, so I need to get in here, clean this out, find out what's going on. I know one thing for certain is these keepers here are not actually working anymore. I don't know, they've got gaps in them or something, so I'm going to have to take these out and figure out another way to secure these to keep these from jumping back out. So that should stiffen this up quite a bit. So for the 6-way blade function, this should be a lot more stable, obviously. I did get the brakes fixed on this. Didn't have any brakes. The brake lines were cut. Typically you don't need to use the brakes anyways unless you're loading and offloading a piece of equipment. The other thing that I want to do is I want to tighten up all this linkage. So I do have another one of these pieces here, and I have another one of these pieces right in here. This little piece right here, I have that piece, and then this piece. But this part right here, I think what I'll do with it, it's not too bad, but I think what I'll do is bore this out to the same size as this is and make a larger pin and run it through here. Also, this pin right here, it's egged out. I think what I'll do is I'll oversize this piece and then make a bigger pin to go in here, and so then I can still use these little bars right here. I can reuse some of this stuff, just oversize some of it. And this one's really egged out, but again, I got a new one of these, so I believe, I can't remember, it's been a while since I ordered this stuff, but I think I have another pin to go in here. If not, that should be easy enough to either fabricate or buy a new one. Other than those simple line items, the dozer runs really good. But today what I want to do is I want to take all the lines off of here and remove this cylinder. So I'm going to move it over to the front of the shop and get to working on it. Other than cosmetics, the thing seems to run perfectly. It's got a new undercarriage. The tracks are new. All the idlers down below, and the sprocket is new, as well as the tracks are all new. So it's in pretty good shape. Anyway, I'm going to get started on some of these line items. The first thing is that cylinder. These lines are in pretty rough shape, so I might just go ahead and make 4 of these up while I'm at it. Here's the old rod on the lift cylinder, and it's scored pretty bad here, and thus the seals aren't sealing. And so I tried to remove this with a spanner wrench, couldn't get it off. There's a set screw in here that's actually off-centered. Here's one half of the hole for the set screw right where my thumb is, and then the other part of that is over here. So when they tighten this, they must have tightened this too far, this gland. And so I tried to put a big wrench on this and take this off without marring it too bad. But I thought, well, I'm going to destroy this thing, so I don't want to try to take this off. But I got new packing for this one. So what I might want to try to do is, after I get this off, I might go ahead and try to take this off. If I ruin it, no big deal, because I have this one here. I ordered this one from back east. It took me a lot of shopping around to find it. But $450 later, I have a new used lift cylinder for the Case 450. So again, when I take this one here off, I want to see if I can change the seals in this and have a backup cylinder to keep on hand. I actually bought the seal kit for it. It was only like $30, so that wasn't bad. Some are telling me just because it doesn't feel really abrasive, but I think over a number of times of up and down might wear some grooves in the seals themselves. It might take quite a while to do that, but $30 sounds a lot better than $450, that's for sure. You can get new rods for these. These are a standard size, so you can get and rebuild these if you want to. Matter of fact, it looks like this one here's been rebuilt in its lifetime. So a lot's probably happened to this machine since 1976. So definitely going to find some battle scars on it and some repairs. It shifts well, it goes in and out of gear well, it starts really well. The brakes, now they work well. We actually got paint with this, and then I actually bought the decals, some new decals, so I'm going to strip all the decals off of this at some point and replace those. And Ryan had talked about painting it, but if he doesn't have time to paint it, well, maybe I'll find some time sometime and down the road and paint it up, and then put the old style case signage to put back on here. So I think the first thing I want to do is take this loose. So I was going to take and pull this yoke out and get it extended down towards where it's what would lift the blade. And I noticed that the little dust cover on the inside of the cylinder where the packing is was badly dry rotted, and part of it was missing. So I think I'll go ahead and try my luck at changing those seals out. So what I did off camera is I actually loosened this little keeper here. So this little keeper, half of the hole for that bolt is on this side, and the other half of that hole is on this side. So that's got to come out. It acts as a keeper, you know, so this part doesn't back off. But if this was out of here, we can put a spanner wrench on here and take this off. I did that off camera and then put everything back together again just to kind of show you the sequence of events and how things look when I take it apart. Glad I was successful on it, because the old one, the one I just replaced, I couldn't get that off of there. I couldn't use the spanner wrench, and so I tried to use a real big pipe wrench on it, and I was afraid of messing up the seal, or messing up the faces on both of the cylinder and then the packing. I think it's called this. I think this is called a packing gland. So I didn't want to go any further with it until I got the parts in to change out those seals or get a different cylinder. So here we are. Well, how I back this off, this is just a spanner wrench. I'm not sure what size these are. I just bought a kit a while back for this particular instance for changing cylinder seals out. This fits in here. So this packing gland has holes on opposite sides. There's 4 of them, so you have a little bit of latitude to go on the top or on the side. So I went on the side, and then I held it on here with my hand. I took a rubber mallet after I put a 1/2-inch wrench on here, and I didn't have enough force to break this gland loose. So I went and got a rubber mallet, held this into place, and just started tapping. And then broke it free. And that's where I ended up before I started putting you guys back on the camera again. It's nice to have this mounted in the trunnion. That kind of gives you another handhold. The other trick is to try to keep this nice and sanitary so you don't end up with a bunch of grit inside your cylinder. So I'm going to try to keep things clean as I'm going. Now this cylinder, when it came to me, it was really clean. Looked like they'd pressure washed it. Well, I think what I'm going to have to do is somehow jack this out a little bit. There shouldn't be anything holding it other than tension on, you know, with the plunger, that's the seal in the piston. So I might bring the excavator over and tie to this and pull this out, because I don't have the strength to pull it. Okay, that's out. That's one way of doing it. The guy's got to be really careful he doesn't pull too hard when he's pulling something like that. You don't want to pull it at an angle. You might break the trunnion, you might bend the rod. So anyway, that rod looks really clean, by the way. I think what I want to do, I do want to change this out. Probably seals just fine, but what's life without a little bit of adventure, huh? Let's see what we got here. Make sure that the seals that I have, all the parts are copacetic and everything they should be as far as size wise. Now here's that hole I was telling you about, and see how it's offset, so one part of it catches on the cylinder wall itself, and then the rest of it penetrates this collar or packing gland or whatever this thing is. It's like there's a little bit of moisture in here, and that's probably because it's been setting and sweating for years, I would imagine. Now the piston, I guess the whole thing will have to come out of here. Ooh. And there we have that. We'll continue wiping things down as we go. So we'll take this into the hangar and lay out an area where we can take this all apart. So obviously I'll have to take this nut off of here, or this bolt. I'll take this bolt out, and then I can slide this piece off of the end. And when I ordered these up, I did write lift cylinder case 450. These are actually, I think, made in the United States, but it's a cylinder kit, cylinder seal kit. That's Golf 32295. I can tell you it doesn't do any good for it not to have hydraulic fluid in there. It gets a little bit rusty on the very end. But overall it looks really good. Here's the proper seal kit for the gland that has the identification number. So I had ordered the wrong kit. Well, actually I ordered the right kit for the other cylinder, but when I got this cylinder in, it actually has the identification number stamped on the outside of the gland. So I had to get this particular kit. Instead of getting this kit, 824330, I had to get kit number 1543250C1. And the difference between those two kits is this particular O-ring, and I guess this is called a buffer ring. Now this ring here has a little indentation or identification divot or mark in it. Now this kit here does not have that particular ring in it. Everything else is very similar. This is also a part that was in there, and we may not use that part right there. So that's, I'll give you guys a quick look at what the seal kit looks like. There's instructions that come with that particular seal, the seal kit. And then I also just took a random copy of a cylinder to identify a lot of the different parts that are inside one of these cylinders. I was surprised. Now this here is supposed to be the cylinder that I'm rebuilding. It's got these attachment points, or trunnion, or whatever you want to call this piece. Cylinder still isn't the same. The piston is actually different. It doesn't have this. It doesn't have this. It just simply has this guy. There's a washer and a bolt that runs through and bolts into the top of the piston. Piston back here. So it goes like that. So I have all of the new rings for this. They all look like they're going to work. So I got 3 rings for that. And let me see. I don't think I'm going to have to use that seal. So what I need to do is I need to remove the metal portion of the old, I guess you'd call that a piston rod wiper. Yeah, a wiper. That goes on the outside and presses in. And I still have the old metal one in here. I've flattened out the back side of a saw file for a chainsaw so I can put the flat side down. And I've already worked this a little bit, and I'll finish working it out on camera. I just hold it in place and just been lightly tapping that out, trying to be very careful not to score or gouge, I guess, the race. You know what I want to call this in here. So I'll go ahead and finish that out. And then using the flat blade screwdriver as its intended use. And I put a little hydraulic oil in there to lubricate that. I'm going to put one of these in at a time so I can really pay attention to what I'm doing here, because if I take 3 out, I might forget where that little groove goes and so on and so forth. So I want to really pay attention. Putting hydraulic fluid on these seals. Hopefully it'll slide in better. Now I'll use the old metal part of that old seal to seat that the rest of the way down. And of course using this to displace the surface area in here, so hopefully I'll have a nice uniform tapping all the way down to the seat, the bottom of where this is supposed to sit. Don't want to bend that or distort the seal. The seal's flexible, so I'm not too worried about that, but I don't want to bend that metal portion. Looks like it's working. Yeah, there it goes. And all the way around you can see right around in this area here, it's an even seal all the way around. So you can see it seated in here too. I'm going to go to the other side and take out that smaller seal back there. I notice the indentation is towards this side over here. So the little curvature is facing this way. So that's what I have to remember when I go to put this new seal here in. So when I install this buffering, that little indentation or mark has to face, the opening has to be out this way. Again, the little mark has to face out. Well, that's not going in as bad as I was fearing. Of course, it's not in yet. Oh, there you go. That was pretty dang easy. Get your white background so you can see a little better. That went right in. Okay. Now I have to take this other one out. I want to verify I got that little mark the right way. I can't see a whole lot of difference in that buffer rings. Okay, so I'm going to take this other one out. You could say this is a lot like pulling teeth, right? Using the same kind of tools. Okay. Well, that was fun. So the groove is supposed to be facing down and away from the outside of the gland. Now that's the way it's supposed to work. I'm thinking I'm liking this thing. Now that made things a whole world easier. I think these little cheap things just paid for themselves. That would have been tricky putting that in any other way than what I just did. I'll put a little more hydraulic fluid on that. Now the last part of this is to remove these seals, hopefully carefully without scratching stuff. Now keep in mind I haven't done this before, so anybody who knows what they're doing would probably have this completed by now. This really isn't that difficult to work. It's just a matter of learn the tricks and get a system down that works. Not go over those threads, but go around this. It stretches this a little bit more, but I think it's going to be a little less intrusive on the seal if I do that. Yeah, let's see if I can put this new O-ring. A little hydraulic fluid on that. I just gotta use my God-given tools as my fingers, my fingernails. Boy, I found my hands and my fingers are a pretty useful tool. Okay, that did that. And I'll wipe off any excess dirt that might have got on there. I think I'm fairly sanitary here. Okay, so this piece is ready to put back in service. Now we have to deal with this guy. So we have three different, I guess I call them piston rings. That makes sense, doesn't it? I'll offset the splits on these. These are shaped the same they're shaped the same all the way around. There's no special way that these are set up, so that's simple. What I'll do is offset these maybe by thirds. This has a little more elasticity to it, which is nice. See if I can end up impaling myself before the end of this video. That'd be entertaining. There we go. Okay, that's where this guy goes. Look at that, just like it was made for it. Okay, like I say, I'm going to go in thirds. I'm going to go here, here, and I'll put the seam for this one over on this side. Well, they happen to have some sort of adhesive on here. This thing was a real booger to get off. And they had some Loctite or on here, so I'm going to put some red back on this bolt. And we'll clean this up really good. Alright, so we're ready to assemble again. Ah, it feels good. We'll add a little Loctite thread locker. And we'll torque this down to where it's supposed to be. So I forgot to put this washer on here, so I had to break this apart again. and reinstall the piston. So now I'm including the washer. So now we'll put some red Loctite on and install the piston. So here's the torque specifications on bolts. So that's in reference to, that's page 457-3 and torque specifications. Okay, now the trick is to see if it fits. These trunnion lift cylinder pins are badly worn. They got a lot of slop in them. So I did get the bushings for this, but I didn't get the pins. I didn't know what they looked like until I got this apart, but they need to be replaced as well. A guy could build some, probably on the lathe, but I'm going to check to see if I can find some already made up. Now's the time to put the little retainer bolt in there. Keep this packing gland from backing off. So I just went back over to the truck and cleaned up the threads on it. And slowly over time, what I want to do, I actually have a new one of these, but somebody's welded this one on. So I don't know if line boring would be better or to just rebuild all this. I'm sure that this is watered out just a little bit. That's something for another day. And clean that little groove out for this retainer pin. Just a little bit to where I can get to this grease zerk on the back side. Okay, we got everything. Replaced a few little parts. Well, we haven't started this thing for about, I don't know, maybe a couple months. I had to put this rebuild on hold for a bit. Now let's see if it works. We can start it up on the first try here. That'd be good. Well guys, that worked out really well. So anyways, hope you guys found this video helpful, and I'll be doing some more little things on the little dozer. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.